I used to think nothing could scare me out in those woods. But that night, something called my name in my brother's voice, from outside the window. I'm not proud of how much we drank that night. It was late October, the kind of cold that makes the air feel heavy and the forest sound too quiet. My brother Tom and I had gone up to our family, old cabin in northern Arizona for a weekend of hunting and catching up. By midnight, the fire had burned low, and Tom had stumbled off to bed in the small back room. I stayed up, half drunk, watching the flames crackle and listening to the wind scrape against the windows. The world outside felt swallowed by blackness. No moon, no stars, just trees moving like shadows within shadows. That's when my phone buzzed. I almost didn't check it, assuming it was a random notification. But when I looked, my stomach twisted. The screen said, "Tom calling." I frowned, glancing down the hall toward his room. I could hear his low, steady snoring. He was out cold. "Still," I answered. "Tom?" For a second, there was only static. Then, faintly, too faintly, I heard his voice. "Hey, can you come outside? I need help." The way he said it, flat, calm, almost too calm, didn't sound like him. But my brain was still foggy from the beer. "You're already in bed, dumbass," I muttered, half laughing. There was silence, then the voice came again, sharper this time. "Come outside now." That's when I felt it. That low, primal pressure in my chest. The one that tells you something isn't right. I hung up and looked back toward the hallway. Tom's snoring hadn't stopped. For a minute, I tried to shake it off. Maybe a prank, a butt dial with a recording, but then came the knock. 3 slow, deliberate knocks on the front door. Knock, knock, knock. Every bit of warmth in that cabin disappeared. I sat frozen in the armchair, staring at the wood door, lit only by the dying firelight. The knocks came again, softer this time. Then, from the other side, that same voice. "Hey man, it's me. Open up." It was Tom's voice. The exact tone, the same lazy drawl, but there was something just a hair off. Like a recording played on a broken speaker. Too even, too smooth. I didn't answer. My eyes darted to the window next to the door. Through the glass, I could barely make out a shape. A man, tall, standing too still. Then it spoke again. "Why are you ignoring me?" I stood, backing slowly toward the hall. The air felt thick, electric. Every instinct screamed at me to hide, but I had to check. I cracked open Tom's door, and there he was, sound asleep, mouth open, snoring softly. I shook his shoulder. "Tom, wake up, man." He groaned, rolled over. "What? What time is it?" "There's someone outside. I think they're pretending to be you." That woke him up fast. He sat up listening. For a second, nothing, just the wind. Then from outside, "Tom." My heart jumped. But this time the voice wasn't calling for me. It was calling for him. "Tom, come outside." His eyes went wide. "That's my voice," he whispered. We stood there frozen. Then the thing called again, closer this time, right outside the window. "Tom, please." I grabbed my flashlight and pointed it at the glass. The beam hit something pale. A face pressed against the window pane. But it wasn't quite right. The eyes were too far apart, the skin too smooth, stretched wrong over bone. The face smiled. Tom cursed and yanked me back. We slammed the door shut, locked it, killed the lights. The fire had burned out completely now, and the cabin was swallowed in darkness. For a long, terrible minute, there was only silence. Then footsteps. Slow, deliberate footsteps circling the cabin, crunching in the dead leaves. The thing was humming now. Some tuneless, broken sound, still in Tom's voice. Every window creaked as it moved past, scraping along the walls like it was feeling its way around the house. At one point, it whispered through the wood, "You can't hide in there forever." Tom gripped a rifle, his hands shaking. I whispered for him to stop. That shooting might make it worse, but he wasn't hearing me. We sat there until dawn, every sound stretching time into something unbearable. When the first light of morning finally touched the curtains, I dared to peek outside. The forest looked normal again, calm, almost peaceful. But near the porch steps, the ground was disturbed. I went closer, against every ounce of judgment I had left. There were footprints. Bare human prints, but wrong. Too long. The toes bent backward like they were reversed. They led from the edge of the woods right up to the front door. Then back again. We packed up that morning. Neither of us spoke the entire drive home. Tom hasn't gone back to that cabin since. Sometimes, though, he still gets calls in the middle of the night. No number, no voicemail, just static, and a faint voice whispering, "Come outside." When we woke up, every tent around us was gone. It was like the people inside had been erased overnight. All that was left was a trail of drag marks leading into the trees, and a single human jawbone lying in the dirt. We'd picked a spot deep in northern Arizona, about an hour north of Flagstaff. It was remote, quiet, perfect for a weekend off-grid. There were 4 of us: me, my girlfriend Erin, and our friends Nate and Chloe. We weren't alone out there, though. Maybe 6 or 7 other groups were scattered around the same clearing, all spaced out enough for privacy. The first night was great. Campfire, music, stories. I remember a coyote howling far off and Chloe joking that it sounded like a person screaming. By midnight, the campground went silent, except for the wind and the crackling fire. It was peaceful in that eerie way the desert can be, so quiet it almost hums. We turned in, zipped up our tents, and fell asleep. The next thing I knew, I was waking up in total darkness to Erin shaking me. "Do you hear that?" she whispered. I thought she meant the wind, which had picked up hard, rattling the tent. But then I heard it. A sound beneath the wind. A dragging noise. Faint but deliberate. Something heavy being pulled across the dirt, circling the edge of our camp. I slowly unzipped the tent just enough to peek out with my flashlight. The beam cut through swirling dust and shadows but hit nothing. No footsteps, no animals. Just emptiness. Then Nate called out from his tent, his voice tight with nerves. "You guys hear that?" I was about to answer when the dragging stopped. The wind died instantly, like someone hit mute on the world. For a full 10 seconds there was nothing, and then from somewhere just beyond the fire pit came a long, low exhale, like someone letting out a breath they'd been holding right next to us. Erin gripped my arm so tight it hurt. I told everyone to stay inside their tents. We waited, silent, for what felt like forever, but nothing else happened. Eventually, I convinced myself it was just the wind, and managed to fall back asleep. When the sun came up, everything looked normal at first. Then Erin pointed toward the tree line. All around the edge of our clearing, the other campsites were gone. Every tent, cooler, and folding chair vanished. I walked over to where I remembered seeing the nearest group. The only thing left was a flattened patch of dirt and a mess of drag marks leading into the woods. Dozens of them. Like people had been pulled backward, heels digging in, hands clawing at the ground. Nate and Chloe came over, their faces pale and silent. We followed the tracks for about 20 yards before they just stopped, abruptly, in the middle of the trees. No sign of struggle, no footprints, nothing. Just a patch of disturbed earth, and lying right in the center, a human jawbone. It wasn't old or bleached. It looked fresh. Erin started crying. Chloe wanted to call the police, but of course our phones had no signal. My handheld radio was just static. That's when Nate said quietly, "What if they're still out here?" We decided to pack up and leave immediately. The air felt wrong, still and heavy, like the forest was holding its breath. As we were tearing down the tent, Erin froze. "Someone was in our camp," she said, pointing at the fire pit. The ashes were cold, but there was something half buried in them. A smooth, round stone carved with deep, angular lines, like strange symbols. They didn't look natural. They just felt wrong. I tossed it into the woods without thinking. A second later, I swear I heard something move out there. Not footsteps, something faster, like someone crawling. We threw our gear into the car and sped down that dirt road as fast as we could. When we finally got service about 15 miles out, we called the local sheriff. I explained everything, the missing camps, the drag marks, the bone. They listened quietly, exchanged a look, and one of them finally said, "We'll send someone to check. You all head home." But I could tell from their faces they didn't believe a word of it. 2 days later, Nate called, his voice shaking. He said there was nothing on the news, no missing campers, no investigation. It was like those people never existed. I tried looking up recent disappearances in the area. Nothing. Even the campground we stayed at didn't show up on maps anymore. The listing was removed from every site. And then, late one night, I got a voicemail. It was static at first, then a faint, wet dragging sound and a voice, not quite human. It whispered, "You shouldn't have left me." I deleted it immediately. But sometimes, when I'm lying in bed with the window cracked open, I swear I can still hear it. The sound of something heavy being dragged slowly across the dirt. If you ever go camping up near Shiprock Road, north of Flagstaff, and you find an empty clearing with perfect flat ground and no birds singing, don't pitch your tent there, because I don't think those campers disappeared. I think they're still being dragged into those woods, one by one. I didn't believe the camera at first, until I saw myself standing on my own porch, smiling at the door, while I was already inside. I live alone on the outskirts of Farmington, New Mexico, in one of those quiet neighborhoods that feels safe simply because nothing ever happens there. It's the kind of place where dogs bark at tumbleweeds, and you can see every single star in the night sky. I deinstalled a Ring camera a few months earlier after someone had been stealing packages around the area. Honestly, it was more for peace of mind than anything else. I never actually expected to need it. That changed one Thursday night in late September. I'd just gotten off work around 9 p.m. and was completely exhausted. The sky outside was black and moonless, and the desert wind rattled the loose screen door like it always did. I remember microwaving some leftovers, taking a quick shower, then curling up on the couch to watch some TV. I must have dozed off, because when I opened my eyes again, the clock read 2:37 a.m. The house was silent. No wind, no traffic, just an unnerving stillness. Then my phone buzzed. It was a motion alert from my Ring camera. Someone, or something, was at my front door. I blinked, totally confused. Nobody ever visited me that late. I pulled up the live feed on my phone. At first, I thought the camera was glitching. The person on my porch looked exactly like me. Same black hoodie, same messy hair pulled into a bun. Same pajamas I was wearing right at that very moment. She was standing completely still, facing the door, her hands hanging limply at her sides. But there was something wrong with her face. The angle of the camera showed just enough. Her smile was too wide, stretched unnaturally, and her eyes looked dull, unfocused, like someone wearing a mask that almost looked human. I froze, staring at the screen. My heart started pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. The woman, the thing, didn't move. It just stood there, breathing slowly. Then, it lifted one hand and knocked. 3 slow, deliberate knocks. Knock, knock, knock. My stomach dropped. It was the exact same rhythm I use when I knock on someone's door. Soft, polite, hesitant. Then it spoke. "Hey, it's me. Let me in." I dropped my phone. The voice was mine. Not just similar, it was my voice. Perfectly matched right down to the tone and inflection. For a moment I thought I was dreaming. I even pinched my arm. But the pain was real. And so was the sound of her voice drifting through the front door. "Please," it said again. I forgot my keys. The way it said it. So calm, so casual. Like it belonged there. Made something deep inside me twist in terror. Because I had my keys. They were on the coffee table right in front of me. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. After a few seconds, the knocking started again. Louder this time, more impatient. "Come on, I know you're awake." I reached over and muted the TV, praying it would think I wasn't home. Then came a scraping sound, like fingernails dragging down the wood of the door. I wanted to call the police, but my hands were shaking so badly I couldn't even unlock my phone. When I finally managed to pull up the Ring app again, it was gone. The porch was empty. The timestamp read 2:42 a.m. I sat there for the rest of the night, lights off, just staring at the door until the sun came up. When morning finally came, I went outside to check for footprints. There were faint ones in the dirt leading up to the porch. Barefoot, small, just like mine. But what made my blood run cold was how they ended. They didn't walk away. They just stopped, right in front of the door. That evening, I tried to convince myself it was some elaborate prank. Maybe a neighbor with a mask or a glitch in the camera feed. I even called the local sheriff's office. They said they'd patrol the area but found nothing unusual. 2 nights later, at almost the exact same time, I got another alert. My phone buzzed once. Motion detected. Front door. I hesitated before opening the app. It was back. This time it was closer to the camera, so close that its face filled the frame. The same too wide smile, the same glassy eyes. Only now, its skin looked off, too smooth, too tight, like it had been stretched over something else. It leaned forward and whispered something. I had to turn up the volume to hear it. Stop watching me. Then it tilted its head, the exact way I do when I'm confused. I swear it was mimicking me, down to the smallest movement. The video cut out right after that. When I checked again a minute later, it was gone. I called my friend David and begged him to come stay the night. He thought I was overreacting until I showed him the footage. His face went pale. He made me sleep with the lights on, and we both kept watch until dawn. Nothing else happened. The next morning, David went to grab something from the porch and stopped. He called me outside. There, on the welcome mat, was a small pile of dirt and hair. In the center of it, half buried, was a smiling paper mask. The mask was me. My face. The same smile, the same eyes, drawn in crude detail. We burned it. I moved out 2 weeks later. I don't use Ring cameras anymore. I don't even live in New Mexico, but sometimes around 2:30 in the morning, I still wake up to a soft notification sound on my phone, one I haven't heard in months. Motion detected, front door, and every time I wonder if somewhere out there it's still watching me. They say a skinwalker can wear your skin, but only after it learns how you move, how you sound, how you smile. And mine learned everything. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more chilling tales. Stay safe out there.